a little bit about sort of my lineage into this, just because I know some of you are interested in ideas and models and where ideas come from and all that kind of stuff. My pathway into this work is kind of through youth work, being a special education teacher, and then falling in love with systemic thinking. And my first training was with the Milan guys, Boscolo and Chikeen, and with the 5th Province Associates from Ireland, Imelda McCarthy, Nollaig Byrne, Philip Carney, and with the brief therapy people, including John Weakland, so, the really early brief therapy people who were thinking systemically and interactionally. So I'm in love with systemic thinking, solution-focused ideas, narrative ideas, all kinds of things in that whole ballpark way of thinking about things. But Boscolo and Chikeen, the Milan guys, they didn't like to talk about violence. Probably the fact that they were, privileged Italian guys, psychiatrists, probably had nothing to do with it. But they didn't like to talk about violence, and neither did Bateson. Bateson said, well, violence is just one way of punctuating an interaction. It's not really, it's not really real. Bateson was dead wrong on that particular point, I think. And so within systemic thinking, there was not an analysis and not an adequate analysis of violence. So I really benefited tremendously from the feminist critique of family therapy. I'm one of those, like Olga Silverstein and Michelle Bograd and Monica McGoldrick and all of those kind of people, to me are very, very important. But then when I started trying to study violence, I started looking back into the whole literature on resistance. I don't know if any of you have made a study of this language, on a study of literature on resistance. There is a vast literature on how people resist violence of many different forms. I can share some of that if you want to. So that has really become my literature, as well as what's called conversation analysis and microanalysis of social interaction. It's about looking in real detail about how people interact and how conversations work with people, looking very closely at interviewing. So on the academic side, it's microanalysis, critical discourse analysis, conversation analysis. On the therapy side, it's a social justice informed systemic way of thinking. That's sort of where I'm coming from.